I think in a fight often to challenge that sense of purpose, or maybe to fight or the lack of purpose rather, versus this feeling of isolation. People go on these campaigns. You know what I mean? Whether it's anything from the death penalty to veganism to you know there's a whole. I mean, listen. There's no shortage of people standing on soapboxes. And listen, I'm a big advocate of protest. I'm a big advocate of collective boycotting and things like that. So there's definitely like an element to awareness where we should indeed care and create actions. Like, I personally don't shop at Walmart because I don't believe in how the things are the manufacturers are treated, the workers of said manufacturers are treated, and even the workers here and what it does to Main Street. So is Walmart going to go out of business anytime soon because I'm not throwing a couple bucks to them? No, but that is a way that I say to myself when I look in the mirror that's how I care. You know what I mean? That's one way that I care. I've definitely gone to protests. I've definitely, I think the whole GMO issue is another big one. But I think some people maybe do care too much about too many issues because it's kind of like, they need to be on the cutting edge of every social issue so that they can feel informed, which really boils down to self-importance in a lot of ways, so they can have the most, how shall I say, vast opinion or be just hyper informed.
So I think we've touched on both ends of the spectrum, and I know you can't speak for the society at whole or friends of yours, but you can speak for yourself, and maybe by speaking for yourself will help enlighten some other people. We've talked about the end of the spectrum where we're too detached as individuals or we're too detached as a society and what kind of problems those incur. And you just recently got into what you think is being too sensitive or too caring in an issue, and some of those things that can occur when we hit that end of the spectrum. Where does middle ground lie? Where does the balance of having a healthy sense of detachment to issues and your life live with still having a sense of caring, so that other people can approach you in a way that they don't feel you're just disheartened bastard, basically?
It comes down to being present. Present with yourself, present with how things feel, so that we don't necessarily need to prescribe to any sort of narrative that we are this kind of person or that kind of person, and being afraid to care, because people are indeed afraid to care, and detachment in terms of your own personal expectations, or maybe the small stuff of other people, letting go is healthy in order to continue to love yourself. Because I think a lot of the actions and staying present with actions of self-love reflect to other people in how they should act. And mimicry is the highest form of flattery. So I do once again believe that self-love is the barometer by which we should find the healthy earmark of being both detached while compassionate, and really staying present with that as much as we can.
Well said, Brett, but I think it's time we detach ourselves from this conversation and talk about what we learned. We covered a lot of ground on a word that can easily evoke different feelings depending on a situation, but I think what's most important that we walk away with is the notion of honesty and self-truth when it comes to detachment. Holding our own feet to the fire and asking ourselves, are we avoiding or are we remaining at a safe distance so that we don't get too emotionally involved? The only way to prepare ourselves for this question is through, as Brett pointed out, our barometer of self-love. It is through this lens that we're able to remove ourselves from any situation because we value ourselves. We put a precedence on mental health, which means we become an observer to a situation and can gain clarity from it rather than allowing it to own us. It is from this perspective that we can remain true to our own story, injecting enough insight from which to learn and grow from while still being present to loving others around us. To enjoy more content from The Spoken You, download our podcast from iTunes or Stitcher. Write to us on thedailyu.org or follow the discussion on Twitter at @TheDailyU or like us on Facebook. As always, join us here every Monday where we challenge the status quo and engage our brains for something beyond the screen. This is The Spoken You with Jeff and Brett, signing off.